Welcome, man. We're back. It's been a minute, man. Impact Culture, the podcast. We're back, man. Hey, listen, your boy is out for the night, so I thought I'd step in, man. We'll throw a little different flavor on this thing tonight. Man, I have an awesome guest tonight, man. But before we jump into that, man, please like and subscribe. You know what I'm saying? We couldn't do this without your support. So like the YouTube, like Facebook, like everything we do, man. We're here for the people, man. We're gonna put a little different spin on it tonight, man. We're gonna kind of dig into the mind of athletes, life after athletics, and all that good stuff, man. So I have an awesome guest, man. He actually uh responded to a post I made, man, and I saw he was impact, so it was like divine, man. So I'm gonna have this guy on, man. But so without further ado, man, I'm gonna bring my guy on, man. That's my guy, Mr. Kendall Anderson, man. Welcome to the show, man.
Man, thank you, man. Thank you for having me. Thank you for
Yeah,
having
man.
me.
So again, before we get started, we're going to dive into the intersection of sports, leadership, and the purpose. And for the brother who's, he was from the dugout to the boardroom, man. My guest Kendall, he's a former collegiate athlete, pro baseball player, turned transformation leadership coach with a decade experience developing athletes and mentoring youth. Kendall has helped transition more than 500 student athletes into college and pro opportunities, man. He's worked with numerous guys, man. Also was a IMG, right? IMG Academy.
Yep.
Uh, man, listen, welcome to the show, my guy Kendall Anderson, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Man, again, thank you for having me, bro. It's a pleasure. Man,
Yep.
I'm excited. I'm excited for this good conversation, man, and ultimately to continue to grow the impact culture.
Absolutely, man. So, like I said, this show, we focus a lot on the athletic side and, the craziness of youth sports, high school sports, and all the fandom and all that stuff. But I want to kind of do a little twist on it, man, and dig into the mind of the athletes, man, the psyche, the mental health issues, and all those good things, man. So we're just going to jump right into it, man. So you had some success in baseball, both collegiately and professional. So at what moment did you know your purpose was bigger than baseball?
What moment did I know that my purpose was bigger than baseball? For me, baseball was always an outlet. It was always an outlet. It was always a vehicle and a platform. And I believe from the time I made the decision that I wanted to play college baseball, I understood that. Of course, I had dreams of playing at the professional level for a long time, but it really wasn't until I started to just understand certain lessons that were instilled in me by my mentors. I was fortunate enough to have a couple of mentors. One was a Division I cheerleader, and the other one was a Division I baseball player. And he was also drafted by the Detroit Tigers. And once I, sat with them and had numerous conversations and really just gained insight from their transition from Division I athletics to at the time one of them was pursuing his doctorate degree and his wife was later on going to gain her doctorate degree as well. But they just had pivotal conversations with me that just helped me understand that life will outlive sports, and who I am as a person and the stock and the value that I have as an individual will
Right.
always outlive what I did as an athlete. So once I started to have that paradigm shift mentally, it kind of just helped me start seeking out other skills and other gifts that I possess, which ultimately helped me find my purpose in impacting young people. And once I started to, serve in different capacities that was outside of sports, I started to find, that young people need guidance. They not only did they knew they needed, but they wanted. And I wanted to help people that grew up in situations that were similar to mine, where I really didn't have true guidance, positive guidance as a young person. And once I started to see that, it was something that just became natural,
Right.
I just tackled it, head on.
That's dope, man. So saying that you didn't have that guidance present in your household or whatever, uh, who is that one coach that sparked you, man? That kind of gave you that drive and that that determination and that confidence that you can be whatever you wanted to be. Who is that one coach? When we say coach, that comes to mind.
Man, I would have to say it will be my first travel ball coach. Like I tell a lot of people, I didn't play travel ball. I wasn't, I didn't have the situation where I grew up playing travel ball. I didn't play competitive baseball until my junior year of high school.
Oh wow.
And I think it was just the opportunity in itself that that the coach gave me to have that experience, and me having that experience, for one, it showed me that I can play baseball at a high level and I can compete with high level baseball players. And I believe that gave me the confidence that I could, go in any space and be myself and thrive,
Right.
as the person that I envision myself as.
So you say you didn't play baseball until your junior
I
year.
didn't play travel baseball.
Travel baseball. Okay, I
I grew
apologize.
up playing, reg baseball, community center baseball, but it wasn't I wasn't playing high level competition
Yeah.
until my junior year of high school.
So you must be a gifted athlete because we know that's super late at that level of baseball to be. Most of
Man,
those guys are playing travel ball at 10. You know what I'm saying? So you
I have to be honest. I was always the workhorse. Like nobody on every team that I've been a part of, from little league all the way up until professional independent ball. Like nobody outworked me. Nobody had a certain level of attention to detail to
Mhm.
every aspect of what I had to do in order to compete at that level. And that's just what I had to do in order to, you know, be able to stand out and find my way on the field the best
Got
way
you.
I could.
So that kind of leads us into the next question, man. So with your experience as a team captain and pro athlete, how did that shape the way you lead today?
I think it just prepared me. In college, I was in just being in a locker room. You got people from all walks of life. You got people from
Right.
all cultures. You got people from all races and ethnicities. And to be able to go in a locker room, understand what a team standard is, what the culture is. For one, embody it myself, and then be able to hold others to that standard. It just showed me, what leadership was, as far as doing it first and leading by example, and others will follow. And I
Absolutely.
think a lot of times when it comes to leadership, people think they just focus on the title, but they don't focus on the work
Absolutely.
that you have to embody in order to be successful in holding that title. And I've never, in all those situations, I never deemed myself as a team captain. Like I was voted team captain by my teammates and
Mm. That's a
both.
huge honor.
Right. So it was looking back, it was definitely an honor to be respected amongst my peers in
There you go.
that light. And yeah,
That's
and
a key word.
as it just transitioned to my professional life, that's just how I show up daily. I don't care about titles, I don't care about, where I stand on the position board. I'm just gonna always go into everything that I do, being who I am,
Right.
and that's how I believe that you just should show up in every facet of life.
That's dope, man. I was actually, it's interesting you said something about leadership. I heard a quote the other day. It's like when you look at a team, it's because we will agree that it's two sides to every coin, right? So it's how you look at it and your perspective on things. It's like when you look at a team, you should never be able to point out the leader. So if you can point out the leader, then you know who the followers are, right?
For sure.
So if you can't point out the leader, that means everybody's doing their job to the highest capacity, the highest level of intensity. You don't know who the captain is, right? That's an ultimate team right there. So uh yeah, so I think leadership is all about respect, man. So how did you transition from a player to a coach to a leadership development? Like what was the biggest challenge that that you faced to evolve off the field?
So, like I said, I was fortunate enough to have mentors in my corner early enough in my college career towards my sophomore year of college, where they were planting those seeds for me, and they was telling me, it's good to have these professional ambitions, but you need just as much time that you're spending in the summer and the off seasons practicing baseball. You need to be getting internships. You need to be putting yourself in position to gain a professional skill set.
Correct.
So pretty much during my whole tenure of college, every summer I spent doing multiple internships in various capacities. So for me, the transition from hanging up sports to really just understanding what I wanted to do as far as professional go, it was pretty seamless. And in turn, I had teammates that didn't transition so seamlessly. They struggled when it came time to hang it up, and seeing that, it kind of just made me think about how, in terms of athletic development, that's where we're missing the mark. We put so much stock in what athletes do and who they become and how they perform when it comes to their respective sport, but it's not enough emphasis put on who they are as an individual and things that we can position them to learn and to even just be exposed to, so that when that time does come, it's not a process of trying to figure it out. It's not something that in many cases, from my personal experience, I've seen people fall into depression because being an athlete, you put in so much mud work and you put in so many hours dedicated to your craft that you really don't know anything else besides that.
Right.
So if we're not exposing them, we're not putting them in position to other avenues, we're doing them a disservice. And over time, I just learned that that's what I'm passionate about. And I think once I started to implement that into my coaching style, and I started just focusing on the individual and not the athlete,
There you go.
I was able to, I was able to be that much more effective as a coach because, I had guys that knew that I genuinely cared about them as people, not just my players.
That's awesome, man. Because like I know if you coach, man, when your players know that you care about them besides being an athlete, they'll do anything in the world for you. And a lot of times you that figure in their life they're missing. So I saw you speaking to a young man. I think he had just graduated, and you were speaking to him about, man. So I saw your passion there, man. So you guys have a good one, man. So we're gonna keep this thing going, man. Speaking of your passion about emotional intelligence and holistic development, what do you think that's crucial in both life and sports?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question one more time?
So you're passionate about emotional development and holistic development. What do you think that is crucial in both life and sports from that standpoint?
Because I believe if a person can have the emotional awareness and self awareness to be able to operate in just their daily life challenges and life adversities and conflict problem resolutions, just knowing how to just operate in just society, I think that just makes a better athlete. You know what I mean? Because athletics is just a form of life. And
Right.
if you know how to operate the game of life, like understanding the processes and the results of what it takes to perform at a high level when it comes to athletics, it's just going to be interchangeable.
Yeah, there's definitely a metaphor for life in sports. That's for sure, man. So, uh, let me see. Next question here. So, what is the biggest gap that you see today, right, with the leadership amongst athletes? Like, where's that gap? Because we're in a kind of a me era, right? Like with the NILs and brand awareness, and I think they have different fancy names for it now. Like I think they call it, I don't know, engagement, blah, 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 blah. Anything, it all comes back to money, right? Name and likeness. So what do you think there's the thing that's missing? What's the biggest gap between these athletes and basically coaches? What's the biggest gap in development there?
I believe this is not when it comes to leadership. I don't think it's enough people willing to buy into whatever the team culture, if it's even team culture being implemented. Because we'd
Mhm.
be surprised about how many teams and organizations really just they don't have a true culture. And when you don't have a true culture, there's no standards. So when it's not a standard to uphold, how can you expect people to want to lead or people to take pride in that capacity? So I think it just goes back to teams and organizations setting a common theme, a common culture, and then holding everybody to that standard. And for me, once I see guys who just have natural leadership abilities, those are the guys that we're gonna put emphasis on building leadership around.
Right.
Because my philosophy as a coach is I can't go out there and play for you guys. Like
Yes.
we're gonna prepare, we're gonna equip, we're gonna uh, make sure that the X's and O's is all tied up on our end. But at the end of the day, the best teams that I've been on had the strongest leadership from a player standpoint.
There you go.
And if you're not being about building leaders within, I don't think your team or organization is going to have much success.
Yeah. So that word gets thrown around a lot. So culture. We always hear the culture, the culture. What is your definition of culture when it comes to athletics or a team in that
It's
sense?
a standard. It's a standard. If it's something so simple as when every day, if the team standard is this locker room needs to be mopped, uniforms need to be hung, trash need to be taken out. If we're not abiding by that standard, it has to be consequences to follow.
Absolutely.
But if we are and we are being intentional about the small details of what the standards are, that's what's gonna translate to us having success when it comes to the field.
Hmm.
Culture is the small details
Got
of
you.
the whole operation of what's going on.
I always say that, man. Like you, here's the thing. I feel like a coach, as a successful coach, has is true to themselves on both sides, right? That means that if there's going to be punishment, there's going to be punishment. If there's going to be reward, there needs to be reward. I think a lot of coaches tear kids down and don't bring them back up. So that's going to create that cancer in your locker room, man. So I feel like you said, you have to if this is the standard, that's the standard. There's no wavering, man. And I feel like a lot of coaches are so now in this era now that you got to win, right? And they're afraid to piss players off. So they put up with a lot of shit from players that can help them win. And I feel like that is detrimental to the culture because there's going to be players that see that preferential treatment and they're going to check out. Like if this guy, if Willie can do whatever he wants to do, but Bob can't, then we got a problem. If Willie's going to get in trouble for something and Bob doesn't get, we're going to have a problem, man. So I agree with that. The standard is the standard, man. So let me go back into this. So you design workshops for coaches, for students, for professionals. What is one lesson or principle that you find that resonates across all levels and all audiences?
So so my workshops are designed around three pillars: character development, professional development, and interpersonal development. I think the one that hits home the most is the one about image.
Hmm.
I myself have been afforded a lot of opportunities because of the skill of being able to show up and not only have a certain level of knowledge, but look the part. You know
There
what I
you go.
mean? And I know you heard. I heard you mention the NIL space, but now student athletes from high school to the college level, they have more opportunities now ever before.
Absolutely.
And what I always stress to them is when you walk into a space, people may give you an opportunity based on just you being able to look the part before you even
There you
open
go.
your mouth. So just helping them understand that having a positive self image, whether it's wearing your clothes in a appropriate manner, whether it's having a pleasing smile smile to your face, whether it's having a firm handshake and making good eye contact and speaking with confidence. You know, those
Absolutely.
are some of the pillars that we try to tackle and hone in on because, you know, like I said, not only do they have opportunities now, but even for like other sports, those are just skills those are soft skills that they're
Mm-hmm.
going to need as they enter into different realms of professionalism.
Yeah, I always express that to kids, man. It's like you got to be the whole package now. You can't just be a good football player and expect someone to give you money. Now it's open to everybody. They don't have to do backdoor deals. So you got to fit the part. You got to carry yourself in a certain way. You got to surround yourself around certain people. You know, like you said, dress well. You can't be sagging. You can't be dapping people up. Hey, Lindsay, no one's going to give you money because you're a football player no more. You got to be able to represent that brand, man. That's what, image awareness, like you said, man. So I think that's key in all facets of life, man. So because you're judged by sight, right?
Yeah.
And, and then
Unfortunately, you know,
yeah, unfortunately,
it's
but
not
everything
fair.
else falls in place after that.
Yep.
My granddad used to tell me you can end a conversation or begin a conversation, but by the first thing that comes out your mouth. You know, yeah, straight up, bro. So, all right, so let's keep moving this on, man. I appreciate you. You worked in the justice. You work with justice involved youth at risk communities. How's that changed your outlet? On your leadership and your mentorship. Working with kids that are, unfortunately, at disadvantaged kids. You work with those guys. So, how is that seeing and being in that space and hearing the stories and understanding and having empathy for those situations? How has that changed the way you move forward in your leadership development?
I think more than anything, it just showed me how to love. Like you said a key word is having empathy. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think for a lot of those kids, they never had people to see them further than their circumstance. And
Facts.
I think, like I said, my philosophy to reach any young person is uh, to see how can I reach their heart. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
think once you reach their heart and once you break down those walls of not who the person is, but why the person is, I believe that's when you can develop a relationship that can be transformative. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and really just understand what approach you need to take in order to reach that kid. So
Right.
my answer to that question would just be to just love them for where they are, love them beyond their circumstance, love
Right.
them beyond what society may deem them as, and really just trying to find the best approach to seeing how they need to be loved.
Oh, that's dope. Because you work in a pretty notorious area for you know some crazy activities, right? Being in Memphis, right? So I would imagine one of the toughest things when working with these kids is getting them to trust you. And how do you do that, man? How do you break that barrier to get them to open up to you?
Man, for one, just showing them that you're human. You know, like when I'm talking to them, I just let them know if it's full transparency. Like, look, bro, like I've been where you are. Like, and I break that down to them and help them understand and just see that just because I'm at this season of my life and this is who I've evolved to, I have to take that off and I have to, like I said, meet them where they are, whether it's understanding their language and understanding their lingo and understanding what they're here to and finding ways to relate it back to them so that they won't see me as higher than, but still respect me
There you go.
as a figure, as a positive figure in their life, but meeting them where they are so we can bridge that gap that ultimately would allow me to help them evolve and to become, something that they didn't even know that they were could become.
Right. Because that's a delicate line to walk, man. Because you don't want to be their friend, so to speak, but you don't want to be uh just an authority figure. You know what I'm saying? So how do you navigate that, man? Like, hey man, listen, I respect you, but this is what I'm here for. Don't get it twisted. We ain't homies. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you bridge that gap? Because like I said, that's a delicate, because I've seen this happen in coaching. I've seen this happen in coaching where you got guys that, buddy with the players and cutting up. And then when the head coach show up, they want to be a disciplinary. Bro, you were just over here doing this with us. Now you're trying to, that doesn't work. So how do you keep that line clear? Like, listen, man, this is, I can be a friend, but I'm not really your friend. How do you do that?
I think for me, what works for me is I come in just set a standard. I come in like no nonsense, setting a standard. And once I get guys to buy into a standard, and I be consistent with the standard, and they realize that all right, Coach K is this, he's X, Y, and Z, and this is his expectation, and this is what he expects of us. And once I'm consistent with that, then I can start breaking down those walls and lessening, my authoritative figure in a sense, and just coming down to their level and really just because every kid not gonna be the same. Some kids you're not gonna be able to be as lenient with, but you're gonna have some kids that's gonna respect you based on what starts at their respective homes, and they gonna automatically know like, all right, this is the person that's in charge, and I just have to respect them, in this manner. So it's no cookie cut answer. I think it really just comes down to just having emotional intelligence when it just comes to just knowing that every kid is not going to be the same, and in that you just have to figure out your best approach in terms of just knowing how to be firm in your standard,
Mm-hmm.
but do it in love, do it in
That's
grace,
got you.
do it with impatience, because it takes a lot of
That's the
patience.
key word.
It takes
Patience.
a lot.
That's the
It takes
key
a lot
word.
of patience, and just understanding that those things will ultimately give you your own recipe to knowing how to lead with love and lead with effective influence.
Right. I just kind of want to expound on that a little bit. Just from a coaching world, coaching in the inner city, you only have a certain amount of time with these kids, right? So you do your best for what the time you have, but sometimes, when you're pushing all this positive, and then they go right back into a toxic environment, right? So do you make it a point to kind of build a relationship with the parents or whoever's their leader or their caregiver, eh, eh, to kind of keep that same energy flowing when they leave you?
I mean, you have to, because ultimately, like I said, coaching anything dealing with athletics is a platform, and for me, I feel like this is my ministry. I feel like God gave me each of these platforms as ministry to go out and live my purpose. And it's if I can not just reach a kid, but but partner with their family. And most of the times, it's not the kids that have two parents in their home that we're referring to. It's the kids that may be being raised by a single mother and need that village. So of course, I want to build a relationship with the parents and open up their lines so that if the parent needs to reach out to me, and in which I have had several parents reach out to me, and the kid may be enduring something that they may not be directly telling me, but the parent, can you talk to my son about this, that, and the third? This is what's
Right.
going on, and I won't go to the kid and tell them that the parent is telling me and giving me this information, but based on the information presented to me, I can approach the kid in a way to where I'm not bashing them, and at that point, I'm trying to approach them with some grace before I give them reproof.
There you go.
And at that point, they're able to receive it because it's not coming from their parents. It's coming from someone
Got you.
that they don't see as a parent figure, but they see as someone just as a positive influence, and ultimately someone that's just a part of their village.
I love that, man. That's dope, man. Sounds like you're on the right track, man. So tell us about that breakthrough moment you had while you were mentoring a young athlete or youth off the field that reminds you of why you do what you do?
Man, so one of I wouldn't even call. I guess you can deem it as a success story, but one of the youth that I worked with during one of my internships, working with an
You
organization
need
that
to
partnered with
ring me anytime.
the port of Memphis. Um, he was a kid who just really needed some positive influences around him, and he ended up doing a little time in our detention center for gang activity.
Oh
And
wow.
from day one, I saw endless potential in the kid. So, and I saw endless potential in him because he was different. When I would be sitting and I would be talking to the group of kids, the way that he was locked in with me, it was just a different feeling. So he never once came to me and was like, I wanna be mentored by you, and I want this just strong relationship with you. But I just took it upon myself to just take him places with me. Taking places with me, whether it was certain meetings that I would go to throughout the city and throughout the community, and just even just having him and exposing him to different spaces. And 2 years later, well, first of all, he graduated high school, and I think that's something that a lot of people take lightly, coming from certain
No, that's
situations,
huge.
environments that I grew up in. Like that, it could easily not be the case. So he graduated high school, and not only did he graduate high school, he went on to college. He went on to Austin Peay University, and I believe his freshman year of college, he had like a 4.0. He received some pretty high achieving awards as a freshman. Me and a couple of people were able to get him a few suits, and and just basically just give him the tools that he needed to go out and do what he wanted to do. And I think last year he graduated college, and he's into politics, and he was able to pursue different avenues and gain different experiences throughout college in the political realm. Was able to get him partnered with a district attorney here from Memphis and get him internship opportunities. He had opportunities to study abroad, where he
That's
lived
dope.
in Russia for a semester. And we talking about a kid that's from South Memphis that when I first met him, he was in a detention center uh,
Wow.
for gang activity. And for me, it was inspirational for me because he didn't give up. He didn't give up, nor did he didn't give up on himself, nor did he succumb to the circumstances and the environments um, that he grew up in. And he took those tools that we gave him, and he sprinted with them. He sprinted with them, and now he's living a life that he desires. And
That's what's up, man.
that's what I tell all young people that I work with in that capacity, that they can do the same thing, and not only telling them that they can do the same thing,
Showing them.
but just like we did for him, giving them the tools and giving him the network and all the resources that they need in order to carry that out.
That's dope, man. It's surprising. Well, it's not surprising. It's wonderful what opportunity and confidence in a person can do, man. Like he probably never had anyone that had that type of confidence in him, man. And when he got the opportunity, man, you prepared him for it. So, man, that's an awesome achievement, bro. You should be proud of that, man. So you're pursuing your master's in professional leadership. So, what is next for you on your journey to impact and influence? What we got what we got in the bag, man? What's going on?
Man, so like I said, I'm working on getting my curriculum published. I believe that in the world of athletics, this is something that we're missing out on. So I want to be able to afford this curriculum to as many teams and organizations at all levels, from ranging from middle school all the way up until professional development, as something that needs to be implemented, so that when athletes making that transition from hanging up the cleats into just operating as everyday people in society, they'll be able to do that at a successful level. And once I complete my master's program, I definitely I'm going to pursue that PhD. So
Dope, man. Hey, I believe you can do it, bro. So let me ask you this: what's the youngest age that you start working with kids? Do you start at like middle school, elementary? What's the where do you start the process at?
I will work with kids all the way up until 5 years old.
Hmm.
But I believe the more passionate work that I do, it has to be around the high school age, and that's because I know for me, there was a pivotal time in my life where
Mm.
I was being a knucklehead. I was running around with the wrong crowds. I was doing things that I shouldn't have been doing, and it was at that point where I made the decision in my mind that I'm going to use sports as a vehicle to better my life and to get me out of that circumstance so that I can live a life that I desire. And I feel like you know just having mentors in my life when I got to college, and them you know loving on me, them not just having these conversations with me, but them truly taking me under their wings and giving me the wisdom and the knowledge to see myself far beyond the athlete. It was pivotal in itself. So if I can pay that forward to any kid that's around their high school to college age, I feel like I'll be living out my purpose and paying that forward.
I love that, man. It's purpose. So if you can go back to your Kendall, knucklehead Kendall, what would you tell knucklehead Kendall right now?
Man, looking back now, I definitely could have been valedictorian of my high school. I just didn't. I didn't take academics serious. I did it. It wasn't something that was valued within myself to begin with, and I take full accountability in it, and I would just make sure that I'm locked in academically. Um, and I think just being locked in more academically, I think that would have opened up many more doors and added much more experiences to what I had ultimately. And I just think I would have been in a better position to be further quicker and not have to, you know,
Mm,
go through so many different seasons of failing and really just trying to gain understanding about life. And I just think, ultimately I would have just been adding more value to myself in general.
I feel like everything happens for a reason. It shapes who we are. You know, in most cases, you don't have to touch that burner but one time to know it's hot. So, and then you learn from that experience. So, uh, how do you mentioned something that was pretty key is like that education in certain areas isn't valued, right? Uh, because I think if you live in some of their dire inner city places, they don't have an expectation to live past a certain age, right? So how do you get that message into that community and say, hey, listen, this is open doors for me. This is open doors for kids. How do you, because obviously it starts at home. So how do you get that message, essentially to the parents that have, lived a life that's not so desirable and that have kids coming up? We all want lives better for our children. So how do we get that message? How do we bring that back?
Man, I think one of my life goals as an athlete was not to make millions of dollars. Like I said, I knew that I worked hard and I was a good baseball player, but I also know elite baseball players, and the ones that are elite, it's only a handful of those that were getting paid a lot of money. So I never wanted to make it to the professional level to make a lot of money. I wanted to get to the highest level as an athlete that I could, so that I could go back to my neighborhood and tell kids that you can do the same and you can do even more if you make these certain set of choices and decisions and make a certain set of choices and decisions in terms of just who you choose to be around. And I think uh, athletes that's making it to these highest levels that's coming from these areas, we have to make it our job and we have to be intentional about going back and sitting in these rooms with these kids and these parents and telling them that, I came from I sat in the same seat that you sat in,
Mm-hmm.
but this is how I got to where I am now, and giving them the tools and giving them the knowledge and giving them the resources that they need in order so that they can not just make it to where they are, but to go far beyond that. And we can't gatekeep that, and we can't you know
Word.
we can't just assume that kids are going to make it the same way that we made it, because one conversation can literally change the way that a kid sees his own life and the things that he sees as far as the possibilities of life. So I think, as former athletes that come from these areas, we have to be intentional about going back and becoming a part of the village that that is needed.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned earlier that, this kind of, we'll come back, we'll spin back around. But you mentioned earlier that being in baseball puts you in different environments that you probably wouldn't have been in otherwise. So how do we get that back to the inner city and get more minority kids in baseball? Because like I know, I think a lot of the reasons why a lot of kids, inner city kids, don't play travel ball because they're priced out. So how do we get them that common experience at a more affordable rate? And that, because we know once they get involved in something, inner city kids generally adapt and then they take off with it with natural ability. So how do we bring that back?
It's so many different, aspects of that question. Um, I think for starters, like I said, you have to have people who have played at the higher levels to be able to come back and provide instruction, because that's really where we're lacking in the inner city, is the development side of it. Like, you have kids that play baseball, but they're not playing year round. They're not getting good coaching.
Right.
They're not
Right.
being trained properly. They're not being developed as far as the mental aspect of it. And I think, just in my personal experience, that's where I see a lot of inner city kids. They just don't be that interested in the game because
Understand it.
they don't understand it, from one, and then for two, at the high school level in the inner city, if your team is only good as the inner city teams, when you get out of the city, you getting smacked because
Yeah. Crap.
you're not being coached correctly. So it's that aspect of it, and then two is, we have to, as an inner city people, we have to be invested into it. We have to be invested into baseball just as much as we invest into football or basketball. Because
Right.
I don't. It's not a matter of accessibility, because I grew up in a place where I didn't know the difference between a turf field and the field that we grew up on, but we was going to show up and compete
There
no
you
matter
go.
no matter where we were, and that's just how we were wired at that time. And I just think that, from the top, it has to be the parents, it has to be the principal, it has to be the athletic director, it has to be from the top down a full investment to the not just having a team to meet a quota, but the development that it's going to take to send kids to the next level, to play at the next level. Because, like you said, it's no doubt that we can play the sport. It's just a lot of us aren't positioned to be successful and be able to hold our own when we get to the and when we do get to that next level.
Yeah, man. That you said another key word because we talk about this a lot on the show, on the lines sports media show. You said a key word, and I feel like that's what's missing. So you can kind of fill me in on your thought process on this. What is it about? You said you love to compete. You had to compete. I feel like that's what's missing from these kids today is they don't want to compete. They don't want to be uncomfortable. Where is that gap between your how old are you again? I'm sorry.
I'm 30. I'm 30 years
So
old.
that's a great from 30 to say these 18-year-olds or these 15-year-olds. They just don't want to, they'll just go to another school. Oh, I'm not starting here. I'll go somewhere else. But like what is that? What happened to that competitive edge?
I just don't think. I think in the face of social media and uh, social media, and we live in a society where if it's a certain standard that's trying to be upheld, everybody isn't. Uh, so they're not just so susceptible to just being okay with coaches being hard on the kids, and and another thing that I see often is kids don't take things personal. When we showed up and we played baseball, like I looked at baseball, and I looked at baseball as something that saved my life. Like, it
Mm.
wasn't just something that I just went out there just to do just because it was baseball season. I looked at every opportunity that I could get to become a better baseball player, to play the game. It could be an opportunity that can literally change my life. And if you don't have kids with a purpose behind why they play, you're not gonna get that out of them, because I
Yeah,
don't think
yeah, I
competitive
agree.
competitiveness is not something that you can teach. It's either something that you have or something that you don't have. So when I'm working with kids and I don't see them competing to the standard that I think they should, I have a conversation with them. Why are you playing baseball?
Mm.
Why do you play this game? Why do you play whatever sport that you play? And if they tell me that they just like doing it and they just enjoy doing it, then it just shows me how I need to approach them in terms of my coaching, my how I want to.
Understand the personnel.
Right. But if it's a
Yep,
kid that tells me that, I want to play this at the next level, then I break it down to them that, if you want to play at the next level, this is the level of intensity that you have to show
absolutely.
every single day in everything that you do, whether it's nutrition, whether it's weightlifting, whether it's your skill, whether it's your mental, whether it's your physical, every aspect of what it takes to perform at the next level at a high level. Break that down to them, and you
Come on.
know that's just what it is. It's no. I think
Exactly. That's just what it is. It don't get much more simple than that. And that's the crazy thing. It's not complicated.
it's not.
The crazy thing, I heard somebody say, it's not that hard. Just people don't want to do it because you have to be consistent. It's not that hard. If you really love it, it's not that hard. It says, are you committed to doing it every day? Every day. Are you willing to sacrifice partying? Are you willing to sacrifice hanging around the wrong crowds or all these things? Are you willing? Because like from I was competitive bodybuilder back in the day, right? So I had this saying like I don't think things are a sacrifice. I think it's part of the process, right? So to me, a sacrifice is something that I can't get back like time. Like if I'm gonna miss my child's birthday because I got to go train, I had to sacrifice that. But if I missed the night at the bar, that's part of the process. That bar gonna be there when the competition's over. So I think that's where you got to draw a line is what's part of the process and what's truly a sacrifice. Because I think a lot of people aren't really clear what that is. Just because I can't eat cake for 12 weeks, that don't mean I can't eat cake the night that the show's over. That's just it's just not gonna help me win. Right. And that's why I preach to my athletes at my school. I'm a strength coach at Butler High School here in Charlotte. It's part of the process, bro. You can't do what your friends that don't play ball do. You can't do that. You gotta be committed to this thing. You gotta get sleep. You gotta get recovery. You gotta eat well. That's it. Eat, sleep, recovery, eat well, train. That's it. That's it. And it can give you anything you want in your life, man. Because this high school thing is such a short part of your life. It's a blip on the radar, but it can set you up for the rest of your life, right? Good and bad on both sides. Like I said, each coin has two sides. So, one final question, man. What advice would you give to the next generation of athletes and coaches that want to be better with both? Uh, I'm sorry, that want to lead with both hard and excellence. What's your advice? They want to lead with their hard and their expertise.
I just think my biggest advice is to have intention. You know, have intention. Have intention with everything that you do. Like you said, it's a process. Being successful and not just athletics, but in just life in general, it's a process. But and we can't attach we can't control the results, but what we can control is the process.
Mm,
And one of the greatest pieces of advice that was given to me is to don't be attached to the results, but be more in tune with the process. And I
Fact.
believe the more attention that you have with the small details of the process, the more the results are going to even itself out, regardless. So if you're an athlete, if you're a coach, just bond to your process. Bond to your process and understanding your process, gain clarity, gain wisdom, gain knowledge about your process, and ultimately just show up with intention
Mm-hmm.
today and control what you can today.
There you go.
Allow the results to be what they are, and be okay with it, because in the game, it's gonna be a winner, it's gonna be a loser. But I'm a strong proponent of I don't lose, I learn. So
Woo! I feel
even
you on that.
even in
Man, you know your
situations,
last name ain't Clark, man. You should be related because you think just like I think, bro.
man,
You got to go check that family tree, bro.
you gotta think, man. You gotta think, because
I feel you, bro. I'm the same way, man. With my athletes, man, it's like, listen, you know, everything you do, there's gonna be some pain involved in this shit. You want the pain of success or pain of failure, right? You like you said, it's part of the process. You can eat right, you can sleep right, you can train hard, you can study the playbook, you can watch all the film, and you might still lose. But guess what? You can live with that loss a lot better than if you didn't prepare for the win. You know what I'm saying? I don't think people prepare to win, they prepare to lose, right? Because if you do everything, sometimes the balls just don't bounce your way. But like you said, and be okay with it. And that's one of the things I tell my athletes is be okay with the expected outcome of your input, right? Be okay with it. If you know you was BSing in weight training, if you know you was doing all these things, be okay with losing that game. Be okay with it. But if you know if you did everything right and you still somehow lost, you can be okay with that too. But I think that doing everything right and coming up short is a whole lot easier to live with. You know what I'm saying? So let's get to the good stuff, man. What's up with that golf game, bro?
hey, listen, bro, listen.
What's up with that golf game, man? When you go driving down, what highway leads you to Charlotte, man?
Man, listen,
Come on down, bro.
I would be on the first thing cooking for around the golf, man. Golf is
Hey, don't say that because I got something coming up in a week, a tournament that you can be a part of, man. At my old high school, man. They don't say it because
listen.
you know this live, right?
If
You
time
know,
if time permits, I promise you, I will make that trip.
man, we can make it happen, man. Because we need a fourth, man. So we got myself, Greg, who you met, and another buddy we play with, uh, that's put us in a couple tournaments as well. So I would love to have you come down, man. If you could make it, man, we'll definitely take care of your entry fee. You got to fly yourself down here, but we're a small budget podcast, but we'll definitely get you in. If you get here, man, we got you, bro. But what's that golf game like, bro?
Man, so it's like golf has been a newfound passion of mine. I think that because I'm such a process-driven person,
Mm,
and I feel like baseball and golf are one and the same. Like you said, like it's some days where I can get a perfect shot, but I still don't get the result that I want. And I think just having to possess mental fortitude in the game of golf is what keeps me passionate about it, keeps me coming,
absolutely, bro.
because it can teach you a lot about yourself, and
What? It can teach you a lot about the people you playing with too.
yeah, no, sure.
It teach you a whole lot about it, boy. Yeah, man. Because golf to me is like life, right? Your morning can start off great. That's that tee shot, and then the next, and then you go down the wrong street, get in a car wreck. That's getting that bunker. But you get this, the day gonna keep going on, right? And then you get another opportunity, the next hole, And the thing I love about golf, man, is like there's 18 challenges, right? But in each challenge, there's 4 to 6 challenges. Depends on how you play, right? 3 to 6 challenges, right? Where the drive lands, right? Where's the approach shot lands? How the greens are set up. All these things, man, to the naked eye looks like a simple sport, right? But go out there and try to control that little ball. Go ahead, bro. So
Teach you a lot.
Yeah. So how long you been in the golf? What brought you to golf?
So I actually was introduced to golf in 2023 during my time at IMG
Oh
Academy.
man, you ain't been playing no golf, man. You've been going to top. You've been going to top golf. You ain't no golfer, man.
Yeah, I'm glad. So listen, I started playing because I started working with golf athletes at IMG
Mm,
Academy, and I was fortunate enough to live on the range, and I was fortunate enough. I found my first set of clubs in the garbage.
get out.
A kid just threw away a set of clubs, and I always told myself that once I stopped playing baseball, I was gonna pick up golf. And I'm a backtrack a little bit, so I tried to play tennis. I didn't have the finesse for tennis. So
Right.
then I found the golf set, and I was like, okay, like I went out, and I think I saw that I was mashing my driver like 300 plus yards. And at that point, I was like, all right, like this is something that I can lock in with. And then I started to learn that good golfers have a great short game.
There it is.
So
What they
that's
say,
that's
drive for
that's
show, putt
where
for show, baby.
right. That's where I've been crafting for the past year or so, just trying to hone in that short game and really just learning course management and really
There it
just
is.
the intricacies of what it takes to be not just a good golfer, but a consistent golfer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the key, man. But the key is like to me when I first started, I've been playing golf probably 20 years off and on, but probably real steady for the last probably 7 years. We've been playing quite often. But what I found, man, is like when I first started playing golf, is I had a really pretty good mentorship, I guess you could say. The first thing he told me, anybody can learn how to drive. That can be taught, but go to the par three courses first before you go to a real course where you only have to hit, at the most of seven, right? Seven through your wedges and then putter. Man, listen, I did that for probably 3 months before I even played on a regular golf course.
But
And
I bet it helped your game tremendously.
oh no, nah, man, that's the strength of my game. Short part. If you get me inside 140, man,
You
you might as
got
well you might as well ask for some surgical, the kit. Go ahead and give me the scalpel. Some days it don't. Sometimes it's a little dull, but most of the time it's pretty sharp. But I actually don't even hit a driver. I hit a 3 wood, or I can't hit a driver, man. That's just. But but I know. But I play my game. Like I
yeah,
play that whole man game. I try to keep it in the fairway and give myself 150 yards, and I'm good, man. I've never hit a 300-yard driver. Probably never will. But as long as I can get that 161 in,
you
I'm in
good.
it.
And
Yeah.
that's another beautiful thing about the game too, because it's like at the grand scheme of, like you said, the driver means nothing. I
It
can
really does
I
it.
can hit a 280-yard drive, and the guy that tee up behind me can hit his driver 200 yards, and we still had the same chance to score the same
Yep.
on that hole. And it's just like no matter what age or you know race or gender, or age or gender, because
Nope.
I done seen women golfers who are just sticks, you
Yep.
know, and it's just an even playing field most of the time in any golf capacity. It's gonna be a pretty even chance for
Yeah,
us.
man. So try to get out there tomorrow. But who's your favorite golfer?
My favorite golfer, I would have to go Nap. I would have to go Nap.
Okay. All right. What
And
what
I
what
think I think I think he has the smoothest swing. When I first started studying golf, I studied a lot of I think it's Fred Smith,
mm-hmm.
and then I learned about Joe Knapp. I think it's either Joseph Knapp.
Yeah.
And I like his swing, man. He's very fluent. You can't tell a big difference. Like I feel like some guys you can tell the difference in their driver swing and their iron swing, but I think his is just so all his swings are just
Consistent.
consistent and
Yep.
fluent, and smooth, and that's just something that I try to emulate in my game.
So so you went from baseball, which is more parallel, right, to a downswing. How hard was that? Was that a pretty easy adjustment to go from a baseball swing to golf swing?
To me, it wasn't. It just hand-eye coordination. I think the most adjustment that I had to make was the load, because in a baseball swing you load into your inner back leg,
Correct.
whereas a golf swing
Front.
you load more into your front leg.
Right. It's down. You're going down. So where you're like baseball, you're trying to keep your shoulders square, right? In golf, you're yeah. So I would imagine that would be. But most baseball players usually are pretty good golfers, though,
Yeah.
right? Because it's the body mechanics. You understand the body mechanics. So because you're always swinging, so it's different planes. So, all right, man. So before we go, man, tell us how to get in touch with you. Tell us, what you like. You say you told us you got some workshops coming up. Give us your social media pages and all that good stuff, man.
Man, so if y'all want to get in contact with me, my Instagram is _born_to_impact. You can follow me on TikTok with that same username. If you want more information about World Impact Group and the services and coaching that we provide, you can visit www.worldimpactgroup.org. And outside of that, man, just shoot me a DM and we can connect personally. I got an open door policy where anybody that needs something at any point in time can always feel free to just reach out. Man, I look forward to staying connected with y'all, man. I appreciate you for having me on the podcast,
Absolutely.
man. It was a great conversation, man. And hopefully I can get down to Charlotte and hit the links with you.
That'd be dope, man. It'd be dope, man. It's a great cause, man. Kendall, we appreciate you, man. So, hey, man, once again, man, Impact Coach of the podcast, man. We bringing it the best guests, man. Solid information, man. Informative information, not just gibberish, man. Stuff that can actually impact your life, man. So, once again, we thank Kendall Anderson for being on our show, man. We're going to follow it up with this information so you guys can reach out to us, man. So, Impact Coach of the podcast, man. We're out.